Welcome, everybody, inside of Linn-Mar High School. We're the Linn-Mar Gymnasium, home of the Lions, for live wrestling on KCRG 9.2. I'm KCRG sports reporter Mike O'Brien, joined alongside of longtime Jeff head coach Dick Briggs. Dick, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Ready for some wrestling.
Absolutely. We kind of have an interesting matchup today. A little bit of a mismatch, if I'm saying it generously. We have the Linn-Mar Lions coming in as the Liberty Lightning travel here. And kind of a tale of two completely different teams at two completely different times of wrestling. You have Linn-Mar, who's been around for obviously a very long time, established as a wrestling powerhouse in the Missouri Valley, and you have Liberty High School, who's in just its second year of existence, and their wrestling program is very much at its birth.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, last week they had their first ever home wrestling dual meet. So that last year they kind of went on a JV varsity schedule kind of and had all away meets, and this year they have gone to a full schedule. They're a member of the Mississippi Valley Conference. So,
and as you can imagine, with any school that basically just gets started, almost every single one of their programs in their athletic department is very young. Their football team, their basketball team, it was the same case last year. It's just filled with freshmen and sophomore. I think their senior class was only maybe a dozen or two people last year, and it's the same case this year with just gaining a few transfers from schools like Iowa City West and Iowa City High. And their rosters show for it. We look right now at the starting lineups, and we have 4 open slots to start for Liberty. Right now, JV is going on, so varsity should start here in a few minutes, but 4 open slots on the varsity lineup. So unofficially, we're going to start with a 24-0 score for Linn-Mar, and that just goes to the lack of numbers that Liberty has been able to generate in their second year.
Right, and they're down just a little bit, some injuries here and there, but they have 1 senior, 3 juniors, and the rest are freshmen or sophomore. Most of them are freshmen, and that are on the team. I was able to watch them wrestle the first dual meet of the year. Actually, I refereed the meet up at Waterloo West, and they even in that first meet they had 2 open spots. So they've added a couple more. There's a lot of that going around with different teams this time of year, injuries and sickness and other things that are happening on the team. But you just kind of bear through it and get yourself to break and into January and get that rolling. But like you said, they're a young program, and they're really showing a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of progress. Coach Joe Williams is just doing a great job with he and his staff.
Yeah, we'll get into the coaching duel here, both coming from the massive family tree that is Iowa Hawkeye Wrestling under Dan Gable. That one senior you mentioned, his name's Gavin Luzy. He's in weight class 182. Right now he's slotted to go up against Jacob Wempen, who, if you're familiar with wrestling in Iowa, he's the number 1 ranked wrestler in the state at that weight class. So potentially we might see Luzy jump up a weight class to try and avoid that matchup, but that's certainly one to watch for later tonight.
You never know what might happen. That could happen, or maybe you want to give your opportunity to see what you can do with the best in the state. There's no question the Wempen family is well known at Linn-Mar. Jacob is ranked number 1. His brother was a 4-time medalist and a state champion for Linn-Mar, and he's got a younger brother that is on the team that wrestles 126. So definitely the Wempen family is a big name in a tradition-rich program at Linn-Mar here. So
that would be his younger brother Kane Wempen, who has an 11-5 record so far this year. This would be his first year in varsity, but still putting up good results in junior varsity, winning the Crandic tournament, which brings the schools in Cedar Rapids and Iowa City together last year as a JV wrestler. But like we mentioned, the 4 open slots in Liberty's lineup, so that means we're going to miss out on guys like Brandon O'Brien, Tanner Schultz, Ryan Plummer, Luke Gaffney from Linn-Mar. A handful of those guys are ranked as well in the top 10 from different rankings around the state, such as IA Wrestle and the Predicament.com. And we're also going to miss on Ashton Barker, who from Liberty is one of their top guys at weight class 170. Looks like he's got an upper body shoulder-ish injury, so disappointing we won't be able to see him today. But any other matchups standing out, at least on paper, you're excited to see tonight?
There are. Actually, there's some evenly, on paper, matched bouts that I think would happen. Starting at 132, Mike Luyaya for Liberty will be battling Reese Siri from Linn-Mar, and both have the same number of wins. They both have 6 wins, so I mean that's an evenly matched bout that should be a nice battle. And then at 138, Brenton Benton from Liberty will be battling Samuel Gasaya from Linn-Mar, and again, fairly even records in terms of wins and that sort of thing. So, but I think the feature matches really are at 152, where Liberty brings to the mat the son of Coach Joe Williams, Caleb Williams, and Caleb's having a real good season this year. He's currently 11-1, and he'll be battling Abbas Kimukai from Linn-Mar, who has 10 wins of his own. So, that's one that I'm kind of looking forward to. And then actually at 182, that you mentioned already, with the Luzi and Wempen match. So those 4 bouts kind of stand out to me.
We'll circle back around to that 152 matchup between Caleb Williams and Abbas Kemikai. That was one I was very much looking forward to as well. We'll touch a little bit more on Caleb Williams. Him and his father Joe, they have a very interesting story. But right as JV's just about to wrap up, we're just a couple of minutes away from action, so we'll hit a quick break. Tonight's feature sponsor, Eels Tronvold Law Offices. Don't go away, everybody. You're watching live high school wrestling right here on KCRG 9.2. Through each of these athletes.
Yeah, that's part of the learning process for sure. I mean, it's just getting out there and doing it and going through the procedures and it's a battle for sure, and especially with young kids, and but that's also the fun of it, to see their growth and see where they develop, and not always on the mat. So I'll say some of my most successful, in my opinion, successful wrestlers weren't necessarily state medalists or state champs or anything like that, but it's where they grew, where they started and where they grew to by the time they left, and where they are now, and so that's a rewarding thing as a coach. And
one of the things that he said he wanted to teach these kids the most was consistency and accountability, and the consistent part has certainly been there in their practices. And accountability, they actually have on one slice of their mat, they have a timeout station that we'll get into a little bit later after the national anthem. We'll take a quick break here. Stay tuned to KCRG 9.2. And a nice rendition of our national anthem here once more, as we're just a few moments away from kicking off our varsity match between Linn-Mar and Liberty as captains meet in the center of the mat. Again, we were mentioning Joe Williams in his second year at the helm of Liberty High School. And like I was mentioning, they have one slice of their mats in their wrestling room. He's put a little timeout station where somebody does something bad in class, they get a detention, misses some homeworks, they got to sit in a corner. And they do a little, I won't say shaming, but they have, it's just his way of showing these kids accountability. Hey, you ever come up with something like that where it's not necessarily meant to be embarrassing for the kids, but it's something that's just supposed to hold them accountable, make them mature a little bit, because like we mentioned over and over again, these kids are young, freshman and sophomore filled roster for Liberty.
I did not do that. I had some other practices that I did to try and help them stay accountable for their grades and that sort of thing, but I did not have a timeout. I would, if I did.
It's funny. They got to write their names and say, "We were here," or
I might have them bring a book while they're in that timeout, and do their homework or whatever. So, anyway, that's interesting. We're going to start at the meet at 285 was the weight drawn. So the 285-pounders weighed in first, and then we'll roll to 106. I noticed there was Linn-Mar had, as they were doing the introductions, Linn-Mar had 206-pounders. So we may see a change there as well. So and then after that, our view was obstructed, so I'm not sure after that. We'll have to play it by ear. But
we had the Liberty cheerleaders standing in front of us, but that's all right. But like you mentioned, 285 is where we'll start off the action tonight for Linn-Mar. It's junior Cleo Garrels. He's 1-7 on the year with 1 fall. And for Liberty, it's Damian Wilson, also a junior. So 2 upperclassmen going at it in our first bout tonight. And they're staying upper body wrestling in a neutral position through the first 20 seconds of the first period.
So each of them has 1 win on the year, so something's got to give here, right?
And there's a quick 2-point takedown for Garrels.
Looking for a crossface, bumping that elbow forward. Big boys like to do the crossface and maybe the butcher where they get out and they run it around. So if he'll try and secure that elbow and then come out around her head. Wasn't able to secure it. Now he's working a near wrist ride. Jumps across for a half. Now the out-of-bounds rule is different this year. It's expanded. So as long as there's 2 supporting points in bounds, they're in bounds. It's getting closer to what college is. Whereas, with college, it could be a fingernail in bounds or above the boundary line. But so I think it's a good move. Expands it. And the reason they don't go to the college rule is that in some high school gyms, they're just not able to accommodate that extra.
And Garrels gets Wilson on his back, and nice official Chris Meineke puts his palm to the mat, and there's the first points of the day for Linn-Mar. It'll be 6 of them from a fall.
Very quick half Nelson turn.
That's Cleo Garrels' second win of the year, his second fall of the year now as his record improves to 2-7, and it's 6-0 quickly for Linn-Mar. And as we go to 106, we see our first forfeit. I believe that was Brandon O'Brien coming out for Linn-Mar, but he will receive the forfeit. And we head straight to 113 now.
Actually, Brandon O'Brien is coming out right now. He's going to be wrestling 113. This is Brandon. He's a little guy.
So that would have been Matthew Ulmer that probably received the forfeit.
I think it was. I think you're correct. Marwell Altal. That might have had that. And
that's who's listed here for 113. We got Marwell Altal.
I don't know if they both weighed in at 106 or so. We got O'Brien in deep on a double, rotating it. O'Brien is, like you said earlier, ranked 9th in the state. Nice duck under.
Talk about aggressive coming out of the gate for O'Brien.
It's a little different than that last match with the big boys, huh?
O'Brien ranked 10th by Iowa Wrestle, 9th by the Predicament. He's a multi-All-American in the Fargo tournament. And back in 2016, he won a gold medal at the Schoolboy Pan American Greco-Roman Championships in Colombia. Traveling all over the world to get his experience, and it's clearly paying off here as he has a 6-2 lead over Mason Paget.
He cuts him back to the feet in neutral. Brandon has an uncle that wrestled for me, was a state medalist. Way back in 1991, I believe. Brandon with another takedown.
Lead is 8-3 after Paget escaped us here. As we're still watching Brandon O'Brien now locked into that left arm. You see the elbows as he's trying to pull him over to get
guillotine.
that.
He's got the leg on and look. Oh, he lost the arm. Checks it, peeks at the clock, see what his time is, cuts him.
O'Brien throwing him to the ground, giving him that 1-point escape easily just so he can get the 2 points immediately after with yet another takedown, 10-4 lead. And there he flips over, gets the left shoulder down. Now he has to get the right one, trying to put his body weight on his legs. And it looks like he's awfully close, and there it is.
Right there.
Chris Meineke awards the fall to Brandon O'Brien. That'll bring our team score to 18-0, advantage Linn-Mar, who starts the day off with 2 consecutive pins.
He may be little, but he's got a lot of energy and powerful punch. Little chicken wing to turn him over, and was able to sag his hips and get the pin.
I apologize. We're going to try and listen into the PA here.
Did they forfeit?
So it looks like they forfeited at 120. That would be Liberty. So Bryce Park gets awarded the win, another ranked wrestler that we will not get to see here today. That brings our score to 24-0. So immediately we jump on to 126. Where we see freshman Jackson Phillip for Liberty up against Kane Wempen. We talked about him a little earlier, and Wempen already with the 2-point takedown, almost a pin there. Just 30 seconds into the first period, this is sophomore Kane Wempen of Linn-Mar on top.
There's that butcher I was talking about. Comes around, transfers the head to the other side. Still hasn't broken the 45, it doesn't look like. Oh, actually, already has the 3 count, doesn't he? Or 5 count for the 3.
Right now, Wempen, it's just the struggle to get both shoulders to hit the mat. He can get one at a time, but Jackson Phillip doing a good job shifting his weight to get that alternate shoulder off the mat.
There, it's getting
but
close
it looks
there.
like it might just be a matter of time. We're still just 1 minute in the first period here.
Plenty of time. That's a long time to battle off your back, so Wempen's got plenty of time there.
Wempen with great technique. Phillip's arms are completely locked up. All he can do is just try and turn those hips to force those shoulder blades off the ground. Chris Meineke getting right up in there, looking for those shoulders to see if there's any kind of separation off the mat. And so far,
there it is, yep.
I was going to say, Phillip was holding on for a long time, but
Battled
eventually
hard,
Wempen gets that. 6 points for Linn-Mar. 3 falls for Linn-Mar to go on with 2 forfeits as we move into 132. We'll check out the replay.
And there you see him sagging the hips, and he was able, Phillip was able to battle that for quite a while, nearly a minute or more before the fall.
So a battle of 6 win guys in 132. It's sophomore Reese Seary for Linn-Mar coming in at 6-4 on the year, 2 falls to his name. And then junior Mike Luyeye for Liberty. Now when I was at their practice yesterday, Coach Joe Williams was quick to single out Luyeye on someone who's just been committed to the process and just a work ethic that is second to none on the team. 6-8 on the year for him as he quickly flips over Seary, but not enough to get the takedown. Just didn't quite have enough control over him as they're battling towards the edge of the mat here. Luyeye has a hold of that right leg, trying to use that upper body, but Seary instead
go behind,
counters that with a takedown of his own for the first points of this match.
Seary wants to try and control the hands under there so then he can apply some sort of turn. Uh-oh, got the time. Illegal hold, looks like a, oops, it was called potentially dangerous. Not sure what it was.
So we'll circle back to center mat and start up again with a minute left in the first period. And Seary's got his legs to the side. He's flipped Luyeye over, and now again a chance for another pin. And there it is. These are all first period pins that we've seen here so far for Linn-Mar. That would be the 4th one of the day. And we're only about 20 minutes into action here, and it's 36-0 as we accelerate towards weight class 138 now. For Liberty, it's another freshman.
Nelson. He just turned him with a half Nelson, was able to sag his hips, stay chest to chest, and get the fall.
In 138 for Liberty, a freshman, Brendan Benton. He's 6-2. And for Linn-Mar, it's Samuel Gasaya, who immediately gets a 2-point takedown right there, just 13 seconds in. Gasaya on top.
Nice double leg takedown for the 2.
And again, you see the aggressiveness for these Lions. They are going after all of these bonus points. They don't want to wrestle very long tonight.
Looks like they were working on the butcher this week, or the cross chest series. That's where you get that far arm and just run around the head. I think we've seen that in the last 3 matches.
Gasiah letting Benton get up. That'll be 1 point for the escape, although Gasiah looked like he was okay giving that up as he'll go for another takedown. 1 minute, 7 seconds left in period number 1. We're in weight class 138, and Gasiah right there again, 2-point takedown. It's 4-1.
Now he's got an arm bar there across the back. Got to keep that at 90 degrees and on the back so it doesn't become dangerous. Looks like he's slipping a chicken wing, which is an arm bar and chicken wing series is kind of a striker staple. Oh, there's going to go potentially dangerous there. But way up high on the shoulder. So Chris Meineke protects that shoulder and restarts him with a potentially dangerous call.
Back to center mat, and we're back under action as Benton tries to get another escape, but Gasiah doing a great job. Riding time, again, getting that right arm behind his back. Not fully, but he does have a nice grip on it.
Got the chicken wing in with his right hand.
And he pushes him away, and Benton gets the 1-point escape. Trying to keep this one close, so Linn-Mar won't be able to gather any bonus points. At this point, it's already 36-0. Another 2-point takedown there.
Yep, for the takedown on the edge.
And that's the end of period 1. It's 6-2. 6-2 rather. Gasiah doing a good job staying dominant in that first period. The 2 points from Benton, both coming from an escape that seemed, as Gasiah was willing to give him to try and get better positioning on the mat. As Gasiah will start on top in period number 2.
Stand under both arms, which is where you can control wrists. And it's a little safer there. Benton does a nice job getting a short sit out, but gave up his wrists and ultimately went to his belly. Next stops your back, so you want to try and get that wrist back and build your base. If you're Benton. Gasiah doing a great job with that butcher cross chest series.
We'll have points for a near fall here no matter what, as Gasiah all the body weight on
and the fall.
Mat, and there is again the 5th fall of the evening. 42-0. The team score advances to in favor of Linn-Mar as we move to class 145. Now obviously this is a little bit of a mismatch here today. We've kind of gone over those reasons as well, but Linn-Mar is still a very tough team no matter the circumstances we go into today. They're ranked 10th overall by Iowa Wrestling Class 3A. They're ranked 8th overall by the Predicaments, Joshua Swafford. And if you look at the Iowa State High School Association's team rankings, at least in the duel that are done by the Iowa Wrestling Coaches and Officials Association, they rank the Lions 19th overall with a 5-5 record. Back to action in class 145. Freshman Darius Newell in it for Linn-Mar, who in it for Liberty rather.
He's in on a double, wasn't able to finish though.
He's going up against the junior Hiku Carolyn for Linn-Mar.
Carolyn with the wizard. Newell can limp arm that arm out, get it on top. He'll secure the takedown, but ended up being a stalemate.
I believe we still should have no score in this individual match, as Newell came close to a takedown there, but official Meineke did not award him those 2 points as he immediately goes after that right leg once more. But Carolyn doing a great job on defense.
Newell's been kind of the aggressor on the feet with shots, but Carolyn's got the good hips and seems to be defending quite well. Hopefully he can get around, and yep, looks like he's got a cradle locked up. That's going to be 2.
And the only reason the 2 points haven't been awarded yet, it looked like Newell had a hold of that leg, and now that's relinquished, so 2 points coming, I would think, any second, and there it is for Carolyn.
Took so long. And the cradle. Newell wants to keep that inside shoulder up. Don't rock too much. Keep that inside shoulder up so you can.
Carolyn
he's doing a nice job. Carolyn did a nice job of throwing the bottom knee into the, I call it the kidney area, to push the hips away and get that inside shoulder down for the fall. Well done.
So the score moves to 48-0, and this now into 152, one of the matchups we talked about before the game. This one might last after or at least after the first period. We'll see. It's the junior Caleb Williams for Liberty and the sophomore Abbas Kemakai for Linn-Mar. Williams, the son of head coach Joe Williams, coming in with a record of 11-1. Kemakai 10-6 on the year, but each and every single one of his victories have come in the fashion of a fall. So will he stay along with the theme that the rest of his Lion teammates have been able to come up with today, or Williams be able to come away with Liberty's first win as Kemakai staying aggressive, but before the 2 points can be awarded, they're ruled off the mat.
Kemakai had a nice go behind and must have been off the mat. As we're still on our feet.
Kemakai, just a sophomore, very promising young wrestler for Linn-Mar. Finished first in the Crandic tournament last year as a freshman, 7th at the MVC Super Meet last year, and 17th at the Cliff Keen Invitational Independence earlier this month.
Williams in on a single. See if he's able to pull it in. Trying to drop his hips in and lift it. That's a tough battle there. Yeah, wisely gives it up.
These two have stayed neutral through the first minute.
Oh, nice duck under to go behind for Williams. That's nice. He really dropped his hips and got him underneath his chest and stayed in great position. He's able to come around easily.
Well, if you don't recognize Caleb Williams' name because he's Joe Williams' son, you may recognize him from an earlier broadcast this year on KCRG that we did of Liberty Lightning football. Caleb Williams, their starting running back, led the team with 686 yards and 5 touchdowns this season. And talking to him yesterday, that still is his sport of choice, but I think he recognizes the family line of wrestling, and I think he's starting to enjoy it.
And
is Kemakai able to escape, bring our score to 2-1, and unless something drastic happens in the next 7 seconds, it looks like we'll get our first match that takes us to the second period. Clock winds down to 1, and there we go. 2-1, Caleb Williams into the second period.
Williams elects to defer to the third period. Kemakai chooses down, and immediately Williams cuts him. So he's going to give him award him an escape. That makes the score 2-2 on their feet. Kemakai in on a quick shot. Williams, besides being a great wrestler, is also an excellent student. He's on the honor roll, 4.0. Yeah. Very active in the school and in the community.
Now, as a longtime former coach, so, you know, sometimes people might be confused when you start a period like that and you're deferring to their option. They choose down, and then they just give it away, relinquishing that 1 point. The strategy behind that, obviously Liberty's not going to win this dual meet, so maybe Williams just wanted to work on his takedown skills as opposed to ride time. Could be serving a little practice for him, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's practice. I think it's a strategy to try and win. He felt he could score a takedown, but he was kind of beaten to the punch there by Kemakai. So the strategy to give a point ended up allowing an opportunity for the takedown, and now it's a 4-2 lead for Kemakai quickly into the second period.
Kemakai having no issue now keeping Williams on the mat.
Williams needs to belly out, get that elbow down, which he's able to now. Bring a knee up and hip heist and build a base. Kemakai's doing a great job of keeping hip pressure. Deep waist, looking for that far arm. Kind of the theme of the night, the cross chest and Butcher series.
Lions coming off a second place finish in the Kevin Gadsden bracket at the Battle of Waterloo tournament this past weekend. Their last dual meet came against Iowa City West. We had that on KCRG late last week. Iowa City West won that one 34-33. They had it tied at 33, but then Iowa City West was able to win on a fourth criteria tiebreaker. But Linn-Mar has come out on fire so far.
Actually, Linn-Mar had a bit of a battle at the Battle of Waterloo. It's a crazy thing. They have brackets on Friday, and based on how they finish in their bracket, then they're put into a pool. So they finished 5th in their bracket, so they were put into the 5th pool, and then they were in that pool. They finished 4th in that pool, so they had kind of a tough go at that battle, and that's not surprising. That is one tough tournament. It's deep. There's 32 teams in that.
It's a lot of wrestling, and it's a great way to see how these schools compare. A lot of 1A schools going up against 3A schools. You kind of get to see the parity there. Don Bosco with a great weekend, as did Waverly Shell Rock and West Delaware when we're talking about area schools.
Right, and you have, Linn-Mar's has certainly not shied away from competition, because they started the season up at the Cliff Keen Invitational up in Independence, where they were 15th of 32 teams, and that was an individual tournament, which they did have one champion. Jacob Wampin was a champion there, and Tanner Schultz, he was a runner-up there, so really a nice finish for those two wrestlers.
This is our first bout of the day that's made it past the first period, and all of a sudden we see ourselves in period number 3 with just a minute 20 left and just a 2-point deficit for the junior Caleb Williams.
So Williams needs to get his tie up so he can hit that duck under again. Kemikai needs to stay active, which he is, and battling, hand fighting, taking the shots of his own. Kind of fighting Williams with the reshot there.
Williams
kind
has
of
that
a high crotch
right
situation.
leg. He's looking to.
That was instance a low crotch.
Kind of just lost the grip there as Kemikai then used his leg strength to just kind of flip over and get
At the hip pressure.
points.
Now he's looking again for that cross chest series. 40 seconds left.
Kemikai is going to exhaust all his powers here just to kind of stay on top of these last 30 seconds, not give Williams another chance, 1 to escape and then 2 to shoot him again. Kemikai so far doing a great job showing that he can ride for as long as he needs. Williams unable to do a whole lot on the mat with 10 seconds left in period number 3. Looks like this will be just our first regular decision of the night, which will move the Linn-Mar lead to 51-0 as both are up, but time has expired. So it'll be a 6-2 win for the sophomore Boss Kemikai. That brings our team score to 51-0 as we're through weight class 152. Kemikai improves his record to 11-6. That's the second defeat of the year for Caleb Williams. Pretty even there throughout the whole time as we check out the replay. Pardon me, we won't check out the replay. Weight class 160 we move now.
Frost with a quick takedown, or Snyder with a quick takedown, sorry. Oops. Then got a little aggressive with his blow to the back of the head. I'm not sure why you do that. You want to do a crossface anyway, and it was a little too forceful, so he got an unnecessary roughness penalty point there.
For Linn-Mar, it's the junior A.J. Frost. He's 4-5 overall. And for Liberty, it's the sophomore Drew Snyder. He's 8-2 this season. Snyder is one of the few wrestlers that has quite a bit of wrestling experience. Started in junior high. He's been wrestling for over 8 years. Plays football, rugby, baseball, and as we mentioned for Caleb Williams, Snyder pretty good in the classroom as well. GPA 3.5.
Got that wrist. Trying to put on the back. Slips chicken wing in. Far wrist. You go out and run it around the head. Frost doing a good job of staying belly down. Trying to keep that shoulder down. And is able to slip the chicken wing off.
As Chris Meineke tells both of our wrestlers to come back to center mat. It looks like we have a little headgear malfunction for
down over the head.
A.J. Frost.
Snyder's dad in the Army National Guard for 14 years and had a tour in Iraq. Very nice. Thank you for your service. And his brother is enlisted in the Iowa National Guard, is leaving for basic training in January.
Of the 4 wins for Frost this year, 3 of them came by fall. But he's down by 1 point here halfway through the first period as Snyder again brings him down to the mat.
And immediately chicken wing puts a chicken wing on, runs around the head. He's going to get a count here.
We might see the first.
Yeah, I did get a count. There it is. He's getting a second count.
Frost doing a great job getting the hips up where those shoulders are nowhere near the mat as now
close.
Snyder brings him back down.
That is close to a fall.
He's got at least 4 for the near fall. And
there
Snyder gets the palm to the mat. Points for Linn-Mar.
129, fall for Drew Snyder.
6 points on the board for Liberty as our team score is 51-6, although we're not paying too close of attention to the team score today, but nice points, great technique from Drew Snyder.
And Ryan Plummer will receive the forfeit at 170.
At 170, that was probably the weight class we would have seen Ashton Barker, who is Liberty's top wrestler, and it looks like they're going to forfeit for Jacob Wempen as well.
We called that one from the beginning.
Unfortunately, we will not get to see Wempen in action as our team score moves to 63-6 after 2 consecutive forfeits. We'll see what happens now in 195. We have the freshman Luke Gaffney, and I believe this would be the senior Gavin Lucy for Liberty.
Bumping up to from 182 to the 195.
Jacob Wempen, the #1 ranked wrestler in the state, was looking forward to watch him, but obviously it makes sense for Liberty's Gavin Lucy to try and take his shot at a freshman Luke Gaffney here as opposed to going up against Wempen.
Well, we saw Linn-Mar do that at 106, so, I mean, that happens.
It's all about matchups, for sure. Gavin Lucy, 10-4, the only senior on Liberty's varsity roster. They do have another senior who wrestles on JV. Luke Gaffney, 5-4 overall with 1 fall under his belt.
That always kind of puts a charge into you if they're bumping up to wrestle you and avoid the other. You don't want to be that guy. So that was a nice takedown by Gaffney.
Lucy back into wrestling when he enrolled at Liberty High. He had wrestled for a long time as a kid in junior high, but then sustained a fairly serious neck injury in 8th grade that prevented him from wrestling for the following 2 years. When Liberty opened up, he said, hey, I'm going to give this a shot, especially when you can learn under a guy such as Joe Williams. And he's had a nice career for the Lightning. And we'll see if he decides to wrestle in college. Right now he's committed to play rugby at Iowa Central Community College under Coach Brent Nelson, but it is possible he might choose to wrestle there as well. But he is an all-state rugby player, played on Iowa Select last summer, playing against teams all across this country as well as the UK. He's down 2-0 here to the freshman Luke Gaffney of Linn-Mar as we're just 10 seconds away from the end of period 1.
Well, when you're bumping up at the upper weights, you're bumping up, you're giving up some pounds. So Lucy did weigh in at 82, but to bump up to 195, that's a 13-pound jump. You can see there's a little bit difference in size here.
Lucy will defer the option to Gaffney, and Gaffney chooses to go down to start period number 2.
We caution on top. So in cautions, you get 2 cautions, and then the third time, it would be a point. So there's really no harm there to give up a caution, as long as you don't do it 2 more times. Nice switch action by
Gaffney with the reversal, 2 points awarded there, doubles his lead to 4-0.
But now Lucy's got to be able to build his base. He can't just lay down on his belly. There he is, able to get to his knees, protect his arms, not let Gaffney control those arms. Nice little suck back by Gaffney.
Looked like Lucy was a little bit unexpecting that, as was I. Gaffney just kind of pulled him back. That right shoulder staying up for Lucy, at least for the moment. He'll have to hold this off for 1 minute and 5 seconds.
Otherwise, that's it right there. Nobody was able to rotate out.
Again, we have great camera work here on KCRG 9.2 as, again, we're just waiting for that right shoulder. And there it is. Chris Meineke palm to the mat. Another fall for Linn-Mar. Team score advances 69-6 as now we're into our last match.
Which will be
and unless we have a change in our roster, I believe we'll have another forfeit in 220. The win will go to Tanner Schultz, and that will end it. It'll be a final score of 75-6 advantage for Linn-Mar. I'll have to count it up off the top of my head. I'm not exactly sure how many falls we had today, but there was quite a few. We'll recap the action. We'll go over the highlights as well when we come back after this quick break. Don't forget tonight's featured sponsor, Eels and Tronville Law Offices. We'll be right back here. You're watching live high school wrestling on KCRG 9.2. Welcome back inside Linn-Mar High School. I'm KCRG's Mike O'Brien, joined alongside longtime Jeff coach Dick Briggs and Linn-Mar coach Doug Stryker. Another victory today for the Linn-Mar Lions. 75-6, the final. Now, we knew this was kind of going to be maybe a little bit lopsided just given Liberty's roster. We had 4 open slots just coming in, but had to be impressed with your team's performance today.
I was. Our intensity was good in the matches that were closely contested, and we didn't warm up very good, so I was kind of hesitant coming out of the wrestling room there. It's because you get 5, you're getting 5 forfeits. You know how it is as a coach.
Right.
How the other guy's going to respond, because the other guys getting forfeits are kind of a little looser than they normally are, and I was kind of concerned. Our warm-up wasn't the best. But the guys, I said, you guys are wrestling, you better be ready, because they're going to come, and they're ready. So I'll tell you what, they proved me wrong.
I believe it was 7 total falls by my count. I'm not very good at math. I think it was 7, and I believe every single one of them also coming in the first period. Was that a point of emphasis for you to get those bonus points, try and attack early on?
Well, it's always the emphasis is to try, if you can put them away, because you never know what's going to happen. But they went out there, they were aggressive, stayed in pretty good position, and good performance to end the first half of the season.
So I noticed that, Coach, a lot of the falls were via the butcher or the cross chest. Did you work on that this week, or was it just there? Did it present itself?
It was there. I mean, we got some guys with some long arms, so they've been doing that themselves because, they get it's a move that works for them because of their appendages. Right. And it worked for me very good because I got short arms. But
I did notice your patented chicken wing armbar series that
that wasn't very good.
we had a couple of them tonight. So.
But no, we wrestled well, I thought, and it's a good way to end this half of the season and go into break. And
so you had a really difficult schedule, the Independence Cliff Keen tournament, the battle. You haven't shied away from competition. Does it kind of lighten up a little bit, or does it kind of continue the rest of the season?
I would say it maybe lightens up a little bit because that's to one extreme. The Independence tournament battle was really good stuff. So it lightens up a little bit. Our home tournament is competitive, but it's not a battle of Waterloo by any means.
Absolutely.
And then we go to Stewartville, and we have some tough conference duels coming up against. We do Jefferson right after break, and then we got Hempstead and Kennedy. Which will be 2 pretty good duels. That's our last 2 home meets.
So, and who comes into the Lion duels?
Well, there's 10 teams, so it's Ankeny. I don't know if we come up with all 10 of them here.
No. Do you do so? With 10 teams, do you do
2 pools of 5?
2 pools of 5.
Yep. So you got 4 duels in your pool, and then two top teams, 2 second, 2 third. Yep.
Okay. Sweet. That's in January 5th.
January
maybe?
5th. Yep.
Okay.
No, that should be a good day. 5 duels, and then like I said, we'll go from there and see where we're at.
So, go ahead, Dick.
With O'Brien, little O'Brien bumping up to 13 didn't seem to bother him too much.
Yeah, I mean he's a
tough kid.
He's good at some of those moves. So if you give him that duck, he'll be good at it. And we just wanted to give him a match, and we knew one of those guys weren't going to get a match. And they're both 95 pounders.
Right.
So it didn't matter who we bumped up to 113. They were going to be small. So.
As a coach, is that his call? Is that your call? Obviously, you see that forfeit coming in at 106 to begin with.
It was a combination. I mean. I wouldn't put him out there, either one of them out there, against a full-size 113-pounder that could get him underneath and hurt him.
Right.
Because he's still giving up 15 pounds. that's 15% of your body weight. You
Absolutely,
know what I mean?
yeah.
So we're careful with that. We're not going to throw them out there unnecessarily. And
Awesome. All right, well, we appreciate the time, Coach. Congratulations on the win again. This is Linn-Mar head coach Doug Stryker as Linn-Mar Lions win over the Liberty Lightning 75-6. Me and Dick Briggs will go over some of the highlights when we come back. Don't touch that dial. You're watching KCRG 9.2. Welcome back, and we appreciate you all for sticking around and watching us here on KCRG 9.2. It was some pretty quick action here at Linn-Mar High School as the Lions down to the Liberty Lightning, 75-6 in the overall team score. And we had about 7 falls throughout the night for Linn-Mar, and then I believe there was 1 there for Liberty. So 8 overall. Pretty quick matchup as we go to the highlights. We'll start at 285 when it was the junior Cleo Garrels for Linn-Mar, a quick first period pin. And then
113, Brandon O'Brien, or 132.
132, this was Reese Siri over Mike Luyeye. Luyeye came out aggressive, but Siri just working his technique.
138, Samuel Gasaya? No.
I believe that was still Luyeye falling to Reese Siri. And then we go to 138 here. This is Brendan Benton of Liberty. Moving to 45, this was Hiku Carolyn. Remember, that was a close one with Darius Newell of Liberty. Newell staying aggressive early on, and
nice cradle.
You see him just trying to rock over, but unable to escape that fall. And then another fall there. That was number 7 for the day for Linn-Mar. It started quick in 182. Again, we mentioned to Coach there, each and every single one of those falls came in the first period of action. I believe we only had 1 go to the second period, if I'm not mistaken, and that was our 152 matchup with Caleb Williams and Abbas Kemikai, which we said before tonight even started that was our go-to, ready-to-watch matchup, and that certainly delivered.
Yep, it was a good battle. I think Williams was not that aggressive, and it cost him in that match. Kemikai was the aggressor and took charge and came away with a 6-2 victory.
Linn-Mar, again, is there anything that you didn't expect to see today that you did? Obviously, we knew it was going to be a little bit of a mismatch on the team score, but some nice moments for Liberty. Obviously, Williams keeping it close going to the third period, and then we had the fall there from the sophomore Drew Snyder over A.J. Frost. It was a bright spot for Liberty today.
Right, and they're a young team, and their schedule is kind of built towards that, so their competition has not been high level, and and that's the right thing to do. You have of your 10. 6 of your 10 that were on the mat tonight on the varsity meet were freshmen or sophomore, and 5 of those 6 were freshmen. So, I mean, you kind of knew that was coming. As a coach, you want to see battle. You don't necessarily have to claim victory with a W, but there's other ways to measure, and certainly that's what Coach Williams has to do, and the kids and Coach Williams and the community are going to have to be patient. It's a building process, and I've seen progress already. So,
well, you saw the curtains fall on the Liberty Gymnasium wrestling mat, and we're going to draw the curtains on our broadcast today as well. For Dick Briggs, I'm Mike O'Brien. Again, we appreciate all of you watching live high school wrestling right here on KCRG 9.2. We'll catch you next time. To make sure you watch tomorrow's basketball broadcast, boys and girls, starting at 6 o'clock. We've got Jefferson at Kennedy, but until now, we'll see you next time on KCRG 9.2.